Hello, Quad Flying Fun here, and been getting into planes recently, and I started flying the WL Toys, their glider, the F959, and the little Polecat. It's a little stunt plane, the F939, and I kind of wanted to use those as trainers to get into something a little bit different. Well, here it is. Decided to branch out a little bit on the channel here and go into some other planes that I've been interested in. When I was a kid, I used to love these old warbirds. This is the Parkzone P51D ultralight, or ultra micro Mustang. And like many of my other things that I do, this really isn't the maiden flight of it. I've flown it a couple times, and right out of the box, I was kind of, and I read about them too. They've got the little 8.5 millimeter motors in them that they put in a lot of the quadcopters, and its performance was okay, but these being so light that if I got into any kind of wind with it at all, it was just like the F939. They just can't handle any wind at all. So I was wanting better performance out of it. So what I did. Blade makes a small collective pitch helicopter that has that motor in it, and they actually make a drop-in brushless replacement for that helicopter. And I started thinking about it, and I looked at it, and I could see how they had set it up. And what I did, I bought that setup. It's a 3325 brushless motor, and it dropped right into this guy. It's got its own ESC. It has everything it needs. It plugs right into the board in this. The only thing that I did to it, the brushless motor is slightly smaller in diameter, so I had to take some electrical tape and wrap it at least like 1.5 turns to get the diameter exactly the same to fit in the holder in here. And I also switched the pinion gear. It comes with a 7-tooth pinion, and I took the pinion off the motor that goes in this, which is a 9-tooth pinion, and put it on that motor and put it in here. And actually, for that, now I flew this 2 days ago with the 7-tooth pinion, and its performance was way better. I mean, much more thrust, way better, but not quite what I thought it should be. So, and actually that 7-tooth pinion will slow the prop down because it's a smaller tooth, and it's got to turn more RPMs to turn the prop the same speed. So I thought, well, I'm going to try it with the 9-tooth pinion like these come with. And today is actually the maiden flight for that, and we're going to see how it does with that. Now these planes, I wish they had the bigger style connector on. They've got these really tiny connectors on them, on the batteries, and that kind of limits your what you can do as far as battery wise. But I did find there is a company called Mini Aviation. It's on the battery here. I don't know if you can see it, miniaviation.com. This is a 220 milliamp hour 1S 45C battery, and it makes a huge difference. Even with the stock motors in these, if you buy these batteries, your performance level will go up quite a bit. So there are a lot of these guys on RC groups flying these things. There's several different versions of this, and I may get I like the P40 model, and I kind of like the Spitfire, and they've got a Corsair version of this, and I may get all of them and redo that motor in there, put that brushless motor in it, and see how it works out. So I think I've talked enough about the intro on this guy. Let's get going here. Now, another thing that I did do, I'm getting into hobby more, and I'm going to be flying some bigger planes. I got better things coming, so just stay tuned to the channel. I got 2 other Mustangs of different sizes coming. One is got a 44-inch wingspan on it, so I think you really want to see that once I get that guy up in the air and get it going. But I did buy this Spectrum DX6i transmitter, and I have to tell you, after dealing with the WL Toy stuff, they are toys compared to this. I mean, this radio, what you can do with it as far as setting these planes up. And I did forget to mention, when you put this setup in here with this brushless motor, it reverses the throttle. So if you have a stock transmitter with this, it will not work with that setup. You have to have one of these or a transmitter that's capable of reversing your channel. So if not, the throttle is backwards on it. But I did that with this, set this thing up so that it's got ailerons. I cut them down, cut the throws down on them quite a bit to cut the handling back just a little, because I'm still getting used to this stuff. but you do need one of these, and I think the DX5 will do that. I'm not certain on that. You'd have to do some research on that and check that. But boy, I'm telling you, this is a quantum leap above what the what WL Toys has. So with that said, one other thing I wanted to mention on this. This has Parkzone's and E-flite. Actually, it's E-flite. It's called AS3X stabilization system, and I'll tell you, it is freaking awesome. When you fly this thing, like today we've got a little bit of wind and you'll be able to see it. It will hold. If this thing takes a sudden wind that wants to throw it, you know, make it move and turn, it actually stabilizes it. And you'll hear it when I plug this in and it binds with the radio. You will hear it coming on, and you can see the ailerons and the rudder and the elevator doing stuff. Like if I move it like this, it's countering that, trying to hold it stable, and it does work, and it is neat. So like I said, enough talking here. Let's get this guy in the air. So now on these, I had one guy talk to me about my quads turning the transmitter on first. This is like that. You do have to turn your transmitter on first. And now this has a 10 model memory. I've got this one named. You can see down here it's called Mustang 1. I've got 3 now, so I named this one Mustang 1. Now transmitter is turned on. Now let's get our battery in here, and if everything goes well, it will bind, and we'll be ready to go here. And I'll show you the AS3X once I get this bound. So let's get this battery in here, get this plugged in, get this guy going. I think that's kind of neat. When it first powers up, you hear that little beep, and the prop does its little dance. It hasn't bound yet, because once it does, you'll hear it. It'll start, it'll come on, and it'll start. You'll hear the, there we go. It just bound. I heard it. So when you hit this, well, maybe not. I've had a slight problem with this one getting it to bind sometimes. Sometimes it just does not want to bind for me. So let's turn this off. Let's redo it. Let's try it again. Let's do it again. Pop the battery off here. I think I waited too long after I turned the transmitter on. It probably only stays it into a bind mode for a short period of time. Okay, let's try it again. Okay, radio's on. Got good signal. Let's get the plane plugged in. Okay, plane's plugged in. We got our tone. You have to wait. It takes about, I don't know, 5 or 6 seconds or so for it to bind. There we go. Okay, now you hear the AS3X, and watch when I roll it sideways. You see the ailerons actually countering what I'm doing with it, which is a neat setup. And like here, up and down, you can see the elevator working. You go side to side, you can see, if you can see the rudder working, countering what I'm doing. Now I got to arm the ESC to do that, up on the throttle and back one time. There we go. You hear the ESC arm. It's on. Test it. Let's do our pre-flight test here. We've got rudder, throttle. Okay, we've got elevator, and we've got ailerons. So we're ready to go here. Hopefully I don't fly this guy into the ground. It's still, this Mustang's a handful flying. It flew really nice the other day. Hopefully I can have a similar flight. And I got wind coming from the northeast there, so let's get this guy in the air. Here we go. Cut throttle just a little bit, bring her around. Oh yeah, it's got way more power now with this 9-tooth pinion than what it had before. God, I love this plane. You can hear, I mean, when it's in the air right now, I can hear that AS3X working. Oh yeah, way more authority, way more power. God, I love flying this plane. You can see it in the air. I mean, it looks like a P-51. You can actually see the stabilization system working on it. Look at it jumping up in the air. Let's do a loop. Neat as all get out. Gotta love flying these old warbirds. Neat airplanes. Now, I'm not getting real crazy with it yet. I want to work on doing stunts and stuff, but right now I'm just concentrating on learning how to fly it and keeping it in the air. Now you can hear I got some wind out here today. Every now and then, see, I got probably 10 mile an hour on me right now, and it's handling it just fine. Let's get some speed up out of that wind. Cut our throttle back just a little bit. I can't resist doing that. See, I got a wind. I'm flying right into it right now, probably 10 mile an hour, and it's handling it just fine. Before, it couldn't handle that wind at all. You bring it out here and it would have been done. And the stabilization, you can see it. Look at it. You can see the stabilization working on this guy. When it goes into that wind, it's trying to move it. The wind's trying to move it around, and it comes right out of it. Let's give her some power here into that wind. See, I'm going into the wind. Now coming out of it, I can cut power just a little bit. Now I cut my ailerons down a little bit. Let me bring this guy in. I got my throttle doing a little funky dance on me here. Let's bring her down. Okay, got her on the ground successfully. That's the main thing with these guys, getting them back on the ground. May have to rearm my ESC. I don't know, it's doing a little funky dance on me there, about 3/4 throttle. I noticed it with the original throttle. I wanting to do that too, so I'll have to investigate that and see why it's doing that. I had it all unplugged this morning. Now the other day when I flew it, it did just fine, but let's try, let me shut this down here, and got another battery. Let's just try another battery. I was working with it this morning with this one. It may not be, battery might be just a little bit low on voltage. Let me get the other one out here. I try to keep them in my pocket to keep some heat in them because it's a little bit chilly out here this morning. Let me test this one out and see what it does. Okay, turning radio on. Okay, radio is on. Let's plug the battery in. Okay, the battery is plugged in. Doing our prop dance. That's what I call that, the prop dance. Okay, let's let her set for a minute. I just got to set it down, let it set so it'll bind.